Welcome back to another episode of What About Dat? My name's Adair, and with the help of my friend Jen, we'll be going over Wynonna Earp, episode 207, Everybody Knows. So sit back, relax, and ask yourself, hey, what about that? So, guys, episode 207. I'm super happy with this episode. I loved it. Jen, what are you thinking about it?
I thought that it was really, we got a lot of information about Mercedes and her sister and what they were, the nature of what they are, which is, we don't know what they are. They they're apparently escaped remnants or beings that were sealed by the two seals, and now their goal is to unleash the third seal and unleash hell, and they wear a lot of black. That's what I got.
I really liked the episode. I mean, I thought the cold open, as you normally mentioned, I loved, where it's just like Wynonna busting down the doors, taking no names, giving 0 Fs, and
yeah,
just
couple
going.
of bitches who like to get their Halloween on in creepy black dresses. I love that line.
Right? Like, I mean, and I love the fact that Wynonna is finally going with her gut and trusting her abilities as this heir, because she's like, something smells fishy with them. I like the fact that she goes, Mercedes is usually a bitch, but like a fun bitch, like I am, like a fun bitch. She's like, but she was just being bitchy. Like,
yeah. She knows something is wrong already.
And it makes me kind of sad, because I like the fact that Wynonna even was starting to get warmed up to the idea of having Mercedes as a friend. You know? That's kind of a bummer.
Anytime they Mercedes references Willa, it's kind of a sore point for Wynonna right there. And I like the line about having been, asleep for a long time, and then Mercedes is like, we're pretty hangry. I just did not see her as being a hangry kind of term usage kind of woman, but she is apparently.
Well, actually, I like that, though. I like the fact that, because you have to remember, they're demons or witches or whatever the hell. They're not of this earth. And what I think is funny is that especially the demon or whatever took over Mercedes' face is the one that's trying to acclimate so much more, because, she's the one who's always been outside and is kind of sassy. So that demon is always like, hey, girlfriend, or like she goes, oh, what's stick up is up your butt? And she looks at her butt when she was sitting in the chair in the last episode. It's like small things like that which make me crack up. So I think it's funny.
She is in on the humor. Actually, to speak to the clarity as to what the widows were, Jeremy tells us that they're unclassified entities, so I called them remnants. They're not. They're unclassified entities. And we learned that they broke out of containment, the Black Badge containment, because of Doc's dynamite, which was from the first episode. And remember, Doc rolls in with dynamite?
Yeah.
Doc's, his unstable dynamite caused a flux. A spontaneous combustion flux, and they broke out somehow, and they've been wreaking hell.
You know what I actually like? I like that, like, Waverly started this drama with the black goo because she got all curious and touched something. Doc started this drama with the witches, and really he's kind of at fault for Mercedes.
Dynamite's fault.
It was his dynamite's fault, because he was going in guns blazing, or dynamite blazing, and this, accidentally unleashed this entity. So I'm like, I'm just waiting for Dolls to unleash something on accident, Nicole to unleash something on accident. Even in this episode, Jeremy, getting into him, he accidentally unleashed a binding spell, which for all intents and purposes,
my bad.
Which was hilarious,
Yeah.
Kudos to Jeremy this episode.
Jeremy did something, and what he really did was he brought us all much closer to him, Dolls, and Doc.
He really did. They gave us a really awesome Three Stooges episode, with these guys, and they even reinforced the bromance between everybody, and I really like that.
I did. I felt like Doc and Doll. I like Jeremy is like the older son of Doc and Dolls. Just kidding. I just made that up right now. But I enjoyed the dynamic of the three men together. I enjoyed watching all the comedy in the movement, in the choreography, where they're like running in one direction and they all have to go together. I thought that was funny. It was really fun.
I also like even just the wire work of like having Jeremy up on the ceiling and Dolls on the ceiling with a noose, and then like all of a sudden Jeremy's on his back, on Dolls' back, which is just ridiculous, you know. And that just had to probably be like the most fun to just play with your fellow castmates in that way, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's actually really funny. I really like how, because you mentioned it, how Dolls and Doc kind of embrace Jeremy now. Like, we're all aware Jeremy's a big old mo, and he likes and has a crush on both Dolls and Doc.
His two fathers.
His two
Weird,
fathers.
but
Like,
I went there mentally, yes.
I mean, I get it, but like, who isn't gonna like want a piece of either of them? Because I don't know what's happening with this season, but the entire cast just got like a gajillion times hotter, and I don't really understand how a whole group of people can get even more attractive, like at the same time. I don't know.
Well,
Something in the water.
maybe it's you, Adair.
I mean, it might just be the Canadian winter. I don't know, but
It puts a blush in the face. The
it
cheek.
just. I mean, some Doc with the tank top and Dolls with his like smiling and Jack. I don't know. I just wasn't ready for it, guys. I just had to clutch my pearls a bit.
Well, Doc is wearing jeans this season. Just saying.
And he's doing a lot of blue, popping those eyeballs out. I see what's happening. But I love their relationship with Jeremy. Like, Shamir and Varun say, like, they're very much like Kevin Hart and Ice Cube together, which I think is hilarious, that's how they compare themselves. And, even Doc with Jeremy, it's just precious. I really, really think it's just a cute relationship that everybody has. Speaking of relationships and bromances, the boys had this arc in the show where it's like, Doc has the past coming back to kind of
literally haunt him. Yeah.
Literally haunt him. And I love the fact that Dolls got to see a hero that he never thought he would see. Never in his mind, he got to see what made him an agent, the guy who inspired him. And sorry, this is for me as being a, African American woman. I really like the fact that the guy was African American. You could see that his hero was someone that he saw himself in that officer, and he wanted to be an agent. And he looked like a little kid in that scene, seeing, Santa for the first time. He was just like, oh my God, you're a legend, which I think is funny because Doc Holliday's a legend and he can't stand the guy. I mean, he likes him, but, I think it's kind of funny. Yeah. He's like, he's a legend, and I think that was cute, it gave me the little warm and fuzzies, and I love Jeremy's tagline, like, oh, you too, because it was what we were thinking.
I think that this episode really had a lot of high emotional stakes. I think that I found the Doc character's performance, the actor's performance, was really just wonderful this episode. I thought it was like the second or third scene into the episode, when he's just kind of outside by himself, processing the information he's just been given, that, the woman he, is attached to. Waverly really put it the right way. Waverly set him straight. She was like, she was like, Docs is like a marionette doll, all strings attached. It was really a good way of putting him, and he's outside and he kind of coming to terms with the idea that he could be a dad, to Wynonna's baby. And I think there's a moment where he mentally accepts it and then goes back inside. I think as he's going back inside, he's like accepted that for the first time. And I thought it's right before the bounty hunter shows up, but I thought that was a really, really good scene.
Yeah, and the scene between Doc and Wynonna was just so moving and beautiful to see, where he didn't say, well, this is how it's going to be, because he is from old-fashioned times, so normally it's like the guy makes all the decisions and the girl just does what it is. And the fact that he knows that's not how it works now, and he goes, things were much different in my time, so, regarding male participation, so just letting you know, I will do whatever you want me to do. I'll be as involved as you want me to be, because I want you to be happy. And I honestly think that was the first time I heard, because this is something I love about acting, there are moments where the actual actor breaks through past their character. And I think because the respect and love that Tim has for Melanie, I think that when his voice kind of breaks and he goes, I'm here for you. I just want you to be happy, and I want you to thrive and live your best life. I really do believe that was Tim talking to Melanie and giving her support as a castmate and as a friend, and it really showed heavily in that scene.
Well, whether it was or wasn't, I just love the language in it, and I feel like, I want you to be happy, as close to happy as possible. I think that's such a great line to give to Wynonna, because, is she ever going to be really that happy? I don't know, but, is anyone for that matter, right? So, I thought that was a great scene. And then the Jeremy and Doc stakeout, they go on a stakeout together. That was also, it was really fun to see Jeremy learning from Doc in this episode. And God, I said this off camera today, that the names Doc and Dolls, even though I know exactly who I'm talking about, sometimes because they're both these, I pull the wrong one out. The scene between Jeremy and Dolls,
Xavier.
I really, I gotta have to start calling him Xavier, because it's hard to just talk about, and this is actually something in screenwriting class that they tell you, never have two names as the same, or start with the same, because you do run into a slip up of the tongue. And you brought it to our attention that they were starting to call Doc Henry and Dolls sometimes Xavier, and so maybe perhaps they are breaking it up a little bit. It is a little like I change them in and out, but speaking to Dolls in this episode as being kind of a mentor to Jeremy while they're on this stakeout, they had a really great scene between the two of them where they were like, I felt like he was it was a lot of comedy. He was telling Jeremy to be quiet. Jeremy was inciting incidents. There was a lot of there was a lot on Doll's mind in this episode. His emotional stakes were really, really high, because just as Doc, his friend, I think that's what we're calling him right now, starts to accept his fate, Dolls starts to kind of be resentful of his, which is he's not going to be as involved with Wynonna if Doc is the father of the child. He has to kind of pull out a little bit from that relationship. So you see Dolls, dealing with some resentment, dealing with kind of maybe some little regret
jealousy.
That it's not him, some jealousy. There's a lot to be played with, and that binding spell just really is a way to put these two men in the same scenes together and let them figure out that relationship. It was I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I really appreciated, Jeremy tends to kind of be that person that is a catalyst for certain emotions, and the fact that, he knew Wynonna was pregnant. He knows some things ahead of time because he's observant, but he doesn't seem to understand that Dolls is in love with Wynonna, and that bringing her up and Dolls' baby is going to hurt his feelings. So I think that's kind of interesting that, he kind of ignores that moment or isn't paying attention enough, because maybe he's swooning over Dolls himself, and,
he was caught up in the idea of being the babysitter.
the Manny.
He wanted to be the Manny, and I thought that was really sweet and really cute. The girls in this episode?
What was cool about this episode is that they broke it up very cleanly. They gave us the all overall bad guys, so the gardeners that we're going to get, just to get a clip and to remind us who they were. They gave us the boy trio, which I thought was excellent. And then they gave us the girl trio, which I thought was even more excellent. So the boys in this episode were very much the comedy relief, the Three Stooges type thing, getting the broness out of the way. The girls, man, we had comedy. We had so many layers to the girls' kind of part of the episode. It was awesome. I want to start with Nicole. Nicole. Congrats.
She's she's becoming a shooting star for this series in general.
Gabriel, congratulations on that, because, I've seen a lot of interviews and she's like, I was nervous playing next to Melanie because she's so good, and she's like, it was really a lesson for me to learn, and I think that she definitely could be more confident in her talent because she is quite wonderful. The girl has faces for days. and really showcases her love for Waverly and her trying to be loyal to both the sisters. And, she is everybody's best friend. She is the perfect idea of a good friend, where Nicole is ultimately in this episode babysitting, mommy sitting, whatever. She's doing it for her girlfriend. But as she gets to know Wynonna's past a little bit, yeah, she's a little judgy. But then when she hears it, she embraces Wynonna and is like trying to help her out as a good friend would. She goes, look, Wynonna says, I didn't mean to get you involved in this. And Nicole says, you know what? You got me involved, but I'm going to get you out of this. And I thought that was really cool because she's like, hey, I'm going to take charge, be your friend, and help you out. I'm going to get this saliva sample. I'm going to, drink all this booze for you so that you don't blow your cover. Like, I thought that was genius as a friend, As a comedic relief, Drunk Nicole was trending. Drunk Nicole is trending on Twitter, which I thought was hilarious. Like, that's how much people love that character in that moment, What'd you think, Jen?
I thought that she kind of served the same purpose as Jeremy did in this trio. I liked the frenemy kind ofness between her and Wynonna. It's not really frenemy, it's just like, it's kind of salty. They go back and forth trading some insults, but at the end of the day, she'd rather sit in a bar trading insults with Wynonna than have Waverly mad at her, which I thought was sweet. This scene was really long, and it stayed in one location, but it gave us so much that we didn't feel like we needed to really cut away or be anywhere else, because the bulk of the episode was actually in this bar, and there was so much unraveling. It really starts with Nicole and this comedy between her and Wynonna. And we learned something about Nicole. We learned something about Nicole and returns to Waverly. We learned something about Wynonna, which is, I think, just kind of sad and pathetic. And it's all done with this, like, underlying comedy, which really puts a bow on it, makes it look great. I think there were so many elements of it. One of the elements that was really fun was seeing Nicole get in trouble with Waverly. Seeing that conversation where Waverly's like, where are you? What are you doing? And Nicole just cannot get herself to lie. So Wynonna has to throw her cell phone into the beer. and then Waverly is like, I loved it. Waverly was like, I hear loud music. I hear humping. You're at a strip bar.
No, she said, I hear thumping music.
Oh, I thought it was humping.
No, she goes, thumping music, you're at a strip joint. And I think the idea, what makes me laugh, is that Nicole, we learned that she would probably never go to a strip joint, which makes me laugh. She always keeps a gun on her, which is awesome. She can hold her liquor, for the most part.
There's a lot of shots on the table. I'd say that you could hold her liquor.
I mean, he said, redheads are wild. She's like, yeah, we are. Like, which was the cutest little reply, because it's like the contrary of what Nicole is. And the fact that she's a good friend, the fact that she's a good girlfriend and can't lie to her, person, and the fact of the matter is, like, she knows she's drunk. I think she said, I can't feel my teeth or something. And so she's like, take my keys. She's like, well, of course, I'm driving, that kind of thing. And I just think that was precious friendship.
And we now know the dynamic between her and Waverly.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Nicole does not wear the pants in this relationship. She might have started this relationship, but Waverly clearly runs this household. You know what I'm saying? Like,
she gets pissed. She's like, you're in trouble. Oh, no.
And the face that Nicole makes when she's like, you're drunk and you're in trouble. Both of you are. And she looks so sad, like a little puppy, like, oh, no, I tried so hard. And even that idea is, as soon as she sees her, it's not a matter of like, oh, thank God, baby, you're here. She goes, I love you, and I think you're so pretty, and I like you so much. Like,
she just confesses her heart.
Just confesses, because that's all she could do in her drunk stupor, which I thought was just
some people confess. That's what happens.
Drunk mind equals a sober heart.
Yes, and then Waverly really just like, she kind of shows up in the nick of time to save the day. Her timing couldn't be more perfect in this episode.
Couldn't be better.
Yeah. She manages to find the bar, and she's so pissed about it. Like, she goes to 3 bars.
I love that. Do you know how much glitter I'm, covered in? And I love Nicole's face, like, well, it happens. But, like,
Yeah.
you know what I love about this girl trio and this part of the show, or this episode? Like you said, Wynonna does this flashback. We get all the backstory of that night because we saw that episode. We saw her get drunk and then go. And I like the fact that they brought it back, and we see that in her, how she deals with stuff. Like you said, what's your favorite line, Jen? From
Oh, yeah, we learned something about Wynonna. We learned about how she deals with, when she's upset, when she deals with pain, she inflicts it upon herself until she can't bear it anymore. And she has, to me, I just thought that this was one of the best lines and some of the best delivery in the whole episode. Wynonna quite simply puts it, she's like, you don't become Wynonna Earp by facing your problems head on. In the entire episode and in the entire history of this character, she's pretty much run from everything and accepted it reluctantly, And I just felt like it was so sad to see her, how she falls apart. It was really sad for me to watch her getting drunk, and like doing so not because she really wants to, but because she wants to inflict pain on herself and the people that care about her, and she can't rest until she's like gone to that darkest point. And I thought that was like, we learned something about her. We learned that she was a stripper, and that her stripping name is Aphrodite, and that was how desperate she was to at one point run away from her legacy, from running away from her responsibility.
And it's hard to see a heroine that we have, that we love, know that she had this dark place, but at the same time it's important to see it because now we know the depths of the darkness that she'll go, and we can see how changed she is. She's going to be this mother. She's going to teach these lessons to her child eventually, and let them know they can have a different life and blah blah blah. But I just think it was so important, and they did it with such humor and like very kind of lightheartedness. The bad guy, I don't know the actor's name, but good job on him for playing that Revenant and to being like just super disgusting.
The baby daddy,
and being disgusting, and he was also, it was very smart that Emily made him the catalyst for Waverly's storyline. Yes, we're dealing with Wynonna, and she's talking to this guy, and the baby is going to be raised as an Earp, and that was such a powerful scene in the snow, and beautiful cinematography once again. And we're coming to this end where she's making the decision, and that's the moment you see Wynonna go, I'm going to be a mother. I'm going to be the best mother. I'm going to be the most kick-ass mother there is. And this baby is going to be ours. It's going to be an Earp. It's going to be loved. It's going to be respected and taken care of and protected. And it's going to be powerful. Just like her mama, as Waverly says, you're a superhero. And a single mother, what's the difference? And that was so great. But that guy, setting up Waverly's storyline. We all know something's fishy with Waverly. She's trying to figure out her life. She's trying to find out if she's an Earp, who she is. And by having this guy say what was important, this is not the first time a Revenant has had a crossbreed child. Now, was it just a regular human, or was it with an Earp? That's what's important. Or
maybe, here's the thought, maybe Earps are the only ones who can crossbreed with Remnants. We don't know yet.
Exactly. It left so many questions, but what was also smart is that the cameraman in that moment pushes in on the Revenant, and he's like, this has happened before, or rumors have it this has happened before. So even the Revenants aren't really sure if it's happened or not, but they instantly pan over to Waverly. Now, at that moment, we actually see the character Waverly take in the information, and you see the light bulb go off in her head. She goes, crap. Maybe this is what Boba was talking about. Maybe I'm that child. Because if we go back to Willa's diary, she says, something's wrong with the baby. Mommy and Daddy said we have to do what's right. So what? Was the baby's eyes glowing red? And then we had the goo inside of Waverly in that episode saying, oh, there's even a darker corner to your mind that you don't even know about. You know, it's like maybe the reason why she was able to fight off that demon so long and was so strong is because she's one herself. You know, maybe she's half revenant, maybe she's not, but there's something in her that's powerful enough, you know, that even another revenant could sense.
Yeah, and you know, just going back to the male remnant who, the one night stand, I guess that's what I'll call him. I didn't really get his name. The one night stand who Wynonna Earp believes may be the baby's father. It's not confirmed yet. We don't know for sure.
Yeah, she doesn't know.
There was a moment where it did go off in her head where she's like, I slept with that guy. Nicole gets a look at him, and the scene really evolves. The emotional stakes in this scene really, really went to the next level when you see him reveal the fact that he punched somebody and you see his eyes glow red, and she realizes, oh my god, I slept with a remnant, you know? And I thought, like, from there, the scene became about Wynonna hiding from this guy. She went there to find him out and confess that, hey, you might be the baby daddy of my...
Oh, no, she wasn't there to confess. She was there to get the sample, so
sample.
She didn't have to confess.
You're right. She went there to get She went there to get information, to gather sample, to get evidence, and that's really what Nicole was there for. But, you know, she did go there to confront this idea that it might not be Doc's. And it really escalates from there, because by the end of the night, he's aware of this, he's aware of her pregnancy. He kind of goads her into, like, you know, revealing it at the bar. And then this character, for being like just a day player who's probably only going to be here on this episode once.
Yeah, she already killed him, so he's gone.
Yeah, but they did a really good job of making him a really good antagonist in just a couple of scenes. You know, he goes from being aware, and once he becomes aware, he has a completely different philosophy on how to handle this situation. And it's not a bad philosophy. It's not a bad worldview. I actually had empathy for him. That's why I thought he was a good villain. But also, it completely is going to make Wynonna vulnerable. So whether she can work it out or not, she can't really even give herself that opportunity, because this is like live or die for her and her baby now. So it was a really strong
I even loved
choice.
the effects of having the fire glow in her eyes, and you see that kind of reflection. You know, I thought that was really cool. You know, it's very much reminiscent of the posters and stuff that they have, and I thought that was really great. And just tying up the end of the show was so perfect. You know, this pregnancy storyline, the fact that it happened, is actually working out in the favor of the show. You know, it makes it makes sense. And I know that, you know, earlier in the seasons and a lot of the interviews, they were saying, oh, you know, maybe Waverly might not ever tell her, or, you know, Wynonna might be upset, or, you know, and I think that's where it was going before they found out Melanie was pregnant. And then once they found out, they were like, oh, she's gonna have paternity questions, and that's going to tie into Waverly's paternity questions. And I like the fact that Wynonna, at that last scene, is sitting on there with her belly out, all adorable, and she says, I'm going to be a mother. It's a baby. And she finally says it. She finally accepts it. And she's like, hey, Waverly, you're going to be Auntie Waverly. And, you know, she's excited. And that breakdown of Waverly was so beautifully done by Dominic. It was just this sadness of, when she says, what about my history? You know? And when I was like, what? You know? And having that confession of, I might not be your sister. I might not even be an Earp. You know? And that was wild, because when we saw the scene where it clicked in her head, she realizes, oh my God, there's a way that this logically makes sense where I might not actually be part of my family. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, it's like it's an identity change for her, and it puts her a real question mark on where she stands with Wynonna, and that role that relationship hasn't really been. That relationship barely got back on track when Wynonna first returns at the beginning of the pilot to the town. So they've been separated for a very long time, and if you think about it, they're just kind of like finding each other again, you know? So now they have to re-find each other with the knowledge that Waverly might not be entirely Earp, and the baby might not be entirely human. So it's a lot of conundrum, a lot of emotional stakes. Everyone wants to, and it was a great way to end the episode.
It really was. It was not even like a cliffhanger. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. You know, it's just like, it was perfect. It was just a perfect way to end this kind of roller coaster on all ends. You know, everything ended pretty, neatly. And now we're into it. Next episode's going to be heavy Gardeners and heavy Waverly trying to figure out what she is. So for me, this episode was awesome. I really liked it. I had a good time watching it. I watched it a few times. And it was just fun, It was a fun and sad and poignant. It gave me all the feels. I had a love emotion. You get scared for, Wynonna and the demon, and you're laughing at Nicole, you're laughing at the Three Stooges, but then we have this heartbreaking moment with Waverly. It gave us everything we love, and I thought it was excellent.
I think that my favorite two scenes were the scenes with Doc and his acknowledgement that he's ready to have this baby. He's actually ready to be a dad, and then the scene where Waverly gives away her last card to Wynonna. I thought those were the two best scenes in the episode. I really enjoyed that.
So let us know, guys, what you thought. What were your impressions of this episode? What do you think's gonna happen? Are you excited to figure out what Waverly is? Are you, excited to see what other shenanigans Jeremy gets into? Let us know. Make sure you guys hit us up on Twitter at whatabout_dat. It is the coolest place to talk and discuss because, we talk to the cast, and there's so many Earpers online who are just so in love with this show. So make sure you come by and hit us up. Jen, anything else?
Be sure to listen to us on iTunes, and if you also want to, we are available on SoundCloud.
Absolutely. So have a great time. See you guys next week. Have a good night. Bye.